Hello, I'm Tex Mars. In my latest book, Mysterious Monuments, I investigate the Masonic architecture, the occult architecture, and the Illuminati designs of an architectural colossus spreading its tentacles across the globe. One of the features of this architectural colossus is its sexual monuments, its artifacts, its devices of a very vulgar nature. Now, it is not my intent today to dwell on such a vulgar and coarse matter, except to the extent that, regrettably, it is necessary that we understand the true, heinous, and perverse doctrines of the Illuminati elite. If we do not, then we fail to understand the directions that these evil men and women are in fact taking the people of America and the entire world. And so this study today is entitled Baal's Shaft, Cleopatra's Needle, and Other Phallic Idols and Sexual Monuments Erected and Planted in America and around the world. We will, of course, reveal many secrets of the Masonic craft and that of other secret societies and occult orders as well. Every initiate into the Masonic order takes an oath of obligation in which they pledge, quote, "I will always hail, ever conceal, and never reveal any of the arts, parts, or points of the hidden mysteries of ancient Freemasonry." Well, I have taken no such oath, and therefore I will reveal these hidden mysteries of ancient Freemasonry. You will discover that many of the artifacts, many of the architectural monuments and sexual devices of the Illuminati are in fact in the form of symbols. Why symbols? Foster Bailey, a 33rd degree Mason, in his book The Spirit of Masonry, stated, "A symbol veils or hides a secret, and it is that which veils mysterious forces. These energies, when released, can have a potent effect. We will release them, all right, but we will have a positive effect because today we will unmask the darkness that lies in the so-called sexual energy forces of the Illuminati elite." It is regrettable that America has a history of sexual perversion in many ways. This is High Priest Anton LaVey, founder of the Church of Satan and his followers, in a 1966 ritual. Notice the woman lying in a nude state upon the altar in the worship of Satan. From a scene inside a Masonic temple in the nation of Greece, we see a human sacrifice laying straddled as a five-pointed star on an altar of a secret society. Superimposed are symbols such as the descendant triangle representing hell and the tau symbol of the Royal Arch Freemasonry Society. Of course, the ultimate and most hideous of symbols of Freemasonry comes from their worship of the ancient demon god Baphomet. Most Masons today deny such a worship, but the ancient Knights Templar, which was really the predecessor to today's Freemasons, did indeed worship Baphomet. This is an image of Baphomet from a book by an occultist named Eliphas Levi, who was a high-level Freemason. Baphomet, he was called, androgynous, male and female. Yes, the combination together representing the coming together sexually of illumined man, illumined female. Notice the torch coming out of the head. Notice the lustful horns, the satanic pentagram, and the forehead of this pan-horned goat god. But notice from the genital area, you see the circle of light. You also see the twin serpents wrapped around each other, around the caduceus rod, that is the male sex organ. Again, I assure you, I have no intent at all in any way popularize the sexual nature of the Illuminati elite in its rituals, but rather to expose the darkness inherent in such rituals. Now, this Baphomet symbol can be understood by reference to this drawing of the cosmic nature of man by Rosicrucian member, the Englishman Robert Flood, many years ago. This drawing shows the lower and higher natures of man, and it shows that man's phallus is the occult center of the universe. Man himself, of course, is governed by the great sun god, or Lucifer, seen over his head, providing illumination and enlightenment, at least so the occultists and secret societies say. It is the illumined man, enlightened by this cosmic wisdom and the energy of Lucifer, God of light, who will eventually rule over the entire earth, setting up the new order of the ages and destroying Christianity and other religions and the adherents of those religions whom the Illuminati say are not fit for survival. In the Jewish Kabbalah, another system of magic, we also see this sexual nature. Here in the Kabbalah comes this drawing, the sacred tree of the Sephiroth. It's claimed to represent the cosmos, and it includes the God, the male, and the Shekinah, the goddess female, and the kingdom of Zion, which supposedly will overspread the whole earth someday. Again, we see the overlapping of the Illuminati and the Jewish Kabbalistic teachings. And the foundation of all things, as in all the occult societies, sexually, is the male genitals, the sex generative process. Notice, the very word foundation is found in the phallus area of the great God of the Kabbalah. Now, this is the doctrine of the occult, that sex is the very energy principle of the universe. And through this sexual feature, that in the ancient temples, in Egypt, in Rome, in Greece, yes, even in China and South and Central America, the sexual ritual, the yoking together of the male and female, became a central focus and practice. And what monument became representative of this hideous sexual ritual, supposedly that linked men and women to the gods and the goddess? The obelisk. The obelisk, the phallus of the sun god, the great obelisk. These obelisks have risen throughout the world, but especially in the land of Egypt. Dr. Kathy Burns, in her book, Masonic and Occult Symbols Illustrated, tells us the true meaning of the obelisk. It means Baal's shaft. Baal, of course, being a synonym for the devil, the fire god of the ancient Philistines and Canaanites. What does Baal's shaft mean? It is the Baal symbol of his organ of reproduction, the phallus. Dr. Burns says this should be especially shocking when we realize that we have a gigantic obelisk in our nation's capital known as the Washington Monument. Another expert on Masonic symbols and architecture, John Daniels, says that Egypt seems to be the inspiration for this fascination with obelisk magic, the phallus of the sun god Osiris in the Egyptian religion. And this same obelisk magic, he said, is practiced today by America's Illuminati elite. And thus they are into sexual debauchery and idolatry. Phallicism, he says, is the veneration and worship of the male and female sex organs, and it is a perverted doctrine of sun worship. In Babylon, it was practiced. Queen Semiramis, her husband, Nimrod the king, erected an obelisk 130 feet high dedicated to her son, claimed to be the reincarnation of her dead husband, the great sun god. But it was in Egypt that America and its Illuminati seemed to relish and focus so much attention, the ancient Egyptian legends and religion. Chief among these is that the sun god, Osiris, was a consort, a sexual practitioner, with his wife, the great goddess Isis. And from their relationship was produced a son, Horus. There we have the unholy trinity. Now, in these Egyptian legends, it is said that the great sun god, Osiris, was slain by an enemy. And his body was dismembered and cut into various parts. And through magic, his wife, the great queen of the universe, the great queen of the Egyptian religions, Isis, she was able to bring all the parts of the body back together and assemble him, and he was to be resurrected by magic that she possessed. But unfortunately, there was one part of the body missing, the male member. And so she achieved from stone or wood an idol of his phallus, and then she consummated the sex act with this idol made of material substance. And thus, having done so, this became the legend of the obelisk. It is the phallus, the idol, symbolized as this rebrought together sun god, Osiris of ancient Egypt. And so we need to keep this in mind. We need to understand that in the dogma of the Illuminati and its subservient human core, the Masonic Lodge and others, the obelisk represents death and resurrection. Death and resurrection. For any who would say America does not practice the Egyptian religion today, my advice is to take out a $1 bill from your wallet or your purse. Notice the all-seeing eye of Horus and of Osiris, the Egyptian sun god, and the Great Pyramid, and the words Novus Ordo Seclorum, New World Order, in Latin, inscribed thereon. This ancient Illuminati doctrine, as brought to America and the Western world, sees in it the symbol of the double-headed eagle, as shown here in a statue outside the Department of Justice building in Washington, D.C., its consummation. This double-headed eagle is the symbol of Freemasonry, and it represents the androgyny, a combined creature of male and female, symbolizing the principle of the sexual union of the goddess and the god. In ancient Rome, they worshipped Janus, the two-faced god of the sun. They call him the keeper of the keys. Back in ancient Babylon, they worshiped the god of Mammon, or Manmon, Ra. You'll see here a symbol of that great god who sits atop a great beast, the dragon. Notice the double-headed feature of this god of prosperity and riches, Mammon Ra. Now, in Freemasonry, this is an illustration from Sovereign Grand Commander Albert Mackey's book, The History of Freemasonry. The mysteries of the order are said to lie within the portal of the two pillars. One is feminine, one is masculine, Jachin and Boaz. Here are the two pillars. You enter through the two pillars, through this sexual rite, to become an illumined person. In Lincolnshire, England, this is the Freemasons' Hall. Notice again the Egyptian combination and the two great pillars, male and female, Jachin and Boaz. And in many other illustrations of Freemasonry, we see these two great pillars once again, always. And they are found in architecture throughout the United States. These are the brilliantly glazed and colored tiles of the exterior of a store in Los Angeles, California. Using the Art Deco style of architecture, notice how the very clever designers and architects were able to sneak covert, subliminal, sexual messages. Do you see the two triangles, the male entering the so-called genitals of the woman? Look closely. You'll see it. Of course, the obelisk is found throughout the world. Here's one in Jocelyn, France, that commemorated the Battle of the 30, dated back in 1351. And down England, we find an Egyptian-style obelisk dated 1826 to commemorate Major General Robert Ross. On its base are carvings of winged sun orbs and serpents. The obelisk, of course, is not the only symbol of sex, with its hidden messages of the Illuminati that we find in architecture around the world. For example, there are many Gothic cathedrals throughout Europe, Britain, and the United States that have rose windows. Seemingly very innocent, but in fact they represent the sex organ of the woman, the vagina, the rose. This is a drawing of a rosette-shaped domed building by Italian Leonardo da Vinci. Yes, the famous Da Vinci seemed to be into the Renaissance style, which was of the ancient pagan gods and goddesses, which also, of course, worshipped the sex rite. In Moscow, Russia today, a great new building is going up called the Crystal Island. It will be in the shape of a great lotus flower. The London Sunday Times said it was one of the world's greatest projects. It will be the world's largest building. It is being built by the architect Sir Norman Foster, one of the world's leading Illuminati architects. 701 meters in diameter, costing over $4 billion. It will have 900 luxury apartments, 3,000 hotel rooms, a fitness complex, a museum, and an international school for 500 students, and countless retail stores. Why the lotus flower? Because the lotus flower, also called the lily in many cultures, represents the female vagina. The egg, or oval, sometimes called the lozenge shape, also is very indicative of the female organ. And we find it as the centerpiece on the wall in this painted mural overlooking deliberations of the United Nations Security Council. Notice the very centerpiece is the oval. And do you see the features of that oval? Yes, at the United Nations, it is the centerpiece of the World Diplomacy Corps. Here, in the ruins of Egypt's Temple of Karnak, you'll find the lily or the lotus carved in stone. Do you see its similarity to the sexual organ? On the cover of the New Age magazine back in January 1989 featured a book entitled A Bridge to Light by 32nd degree Mason Rex Hutchins. The symbology looks innocent at first, but look again. It, in fact, symbolizes the male entrance into the female organ and the overflow of seed or semen, and the Masons call this, in their New Age magazine, a bridge to light. Back to the ancient pagan religions, we see the sexual nature of these mystery religions still worshipped by the Illuminati today. This is the snake goddess worshipped in ancient Babylon and Sumeria. Note the sensual aspect of the breast and also the diamond pattern on the covering garment. And of course, in her hands are the serpents. In many places in the British Commonwealth today, such as this scene in Devonport, New Zealand back in 1985, and another scene at the West Dean School in England today, we see practice of a game and a festival called the Maypole. The children go around the Maypole. In ancient days, there were incredible sexual orgies that occurred during the Maypole festival. And what is the Maypole? Of course, it is representative of the phallus of the sun god. Here we have the Tree of Liberty pole in this English coin designed by Freemason Thomas Spence back in the days of America's revolution against England. This shows Illuminist revolutionaries angry but holding a pole, the great Maypole, and at the very top of it is the dismembered head of the Prime Minister of England, William Pitt. And what is this Maypole, this phallus symbol, called on this coin? The Tree of Liberty. Egyptian temples, of course, were beautifully painted and had these great columns that symbolized the phallus of the various gods, and especially of Osiris. Osiris, the sun god, and also the lord of the underworld. And this same symbol became prominent throughout the pagan world. Megaliths, known as the devil's arrows, are still found today in Boroughbridge, England. Here is one such representative. When the first Europeans came to North America, they found that the Native American Indians also were worshiping the sun god, and they bore a great totem idol, in other words, the phallus symbol of the sun god, and they arranged themselves in circles and held up their hands and had great festivities, all designed to honor the great phallus of the sun god. This is an engraving from Theodore de Brie's book, America, dated 1590. In Africa, too, we see the worship of the phallus symbol, the phallus, usually of the sun god. Many say that Islam today is almost a Puritan religion, but perhaps unbeknown even to Muslims, their very mosques display the inherent sexual nature of this religion. Maybe we can understand when we look, for example, at the Blue Mosque in Istanbul, Turkey, why many Muslim men seem to relish the idea of someday going to a paradise and having multiple virgin wives and having constant sex. Look at the towers, the esoteric design, the phallic design of these minaret towers. Yes, the image of sex is unmistakable, although the imams of Islam may say it's not so.